Section 27 Law Centre will challenge the punishment of 2 teachers accused of beating pupils. The Council for Educators found the teachers guilty of misconduct and fined them 15,000 rand. They may continue teaching provided they are not found guilty again. Section 27 describes these punishments as insubstantial and inadequate. Demichelle Petherbridge, a lawyer from the organisation, joins me to explain. A very good morning to you, Demichelle. Thank you for your time. Corporate punishment has been illegal in the country for many years now. Just give us some background into the matter.
Yes, so the families of 2 learners who, like you said, were assaulted by teachers in class, one in a school in Gauteng and one in a school in Limpopo, had actually approached Section 27 in 2019 for further assistance after they were frustrated with processes that were coming from the school. We had lodged a formal complaint against these teachers with SACE, and as you said, disciplinary hearings were held and SACE had made certain decisions, but we find these completely unacceptable and way too lenient for a crime like corporal punishment.
Yeah, so despite being found guilty of a corporal punishment, you believe that these sanctions were completely unlawful. So on what grounds are you challenging SACE?
So what we're asking SACE basically is just to reconsider this decision. So the ball will be in their courts, and we're just basically saying that we're looking for stricter measures, that this is just not sufficient to address this adequately.
All right, so it's still very much a regular occurrence, isn't it, despite the fact that it was banned in 1996? Just how prevalent is it, corporal punishment, I mean?
From an organizational perspective, we get a lot of cases. So over the years, we've seen numerous accounts of this still happening in schools. But for more formal statistics, we know that stats that came out in 2019 from the General Household Survey that stated that over 1 million learners in South African schools have actually experienced violence or corporal punishment. Even the South African Council's own report that came out for the period 2018-2019 that said of the 765 cases of complaints lodged to SACE, about 295 of them were actually corporal punishment cases. So we see that corporal punishment is really rife still.
Yeah, and SACE have said that they've indicated rather that they plan to appeal the challenge. What would CCL and Section 27 like to see happening to these teachers?
So as I said, we're referring it back to SACE, and one of the reasons we're doing that is because we want a professional body like that who is mandated to hold teachers accountable to think differently about how they're approaching this crime of corporal punishment. I mean, as you said, that particular punishment just leaves teachers with, requiring teachers to behave well for the next 10 years and to pay an amount of 833 rand per month for a year. So we need them to start imposing stricter sanctions that really speak to things like the severity of the case, the likelihood of it happening again, what risk a teacher poses, the nature of corporal punishment. We want to see sanctions that speak to these kind of things and don't let teachers off the hook, because surely with this kind of sanction, this cannot be what justice looks like when corporal punishment happens.
And I was looking at one of the cases. I mean, one of the pupils, who was the victim in this situation, ended up having to repeat grade 5 because of the fact that, they kept getting all sorts of internal damages and bleeding out of the ears, that sort of thing. So in your opinion, it extends to more than just the physical repercussions, corporal punishment. What are the implications of corporal punishment on a child?
Yeah, so I mean, what we've seen with these 2 learners is really that they had suffered a lot of trauma. The family of the learner that you just described now has jumped from hospital to hospital. They've suffered as a family. They've suffered financially. It's cost the learner another year. But there are many studies that also show that corporal punishment, leads to psychological trauma. It also advocates for this use of violence in the school environment. So I think that there's a lot of social implications for endorsing or not punishing this, the use of corporal punishment.
All right, and then just very lastly, Demichelle, what now from Section 27? What can we expect in terms of this case?
Yeah. So what we've asked the council to do is to send us all the documents and the notes related to their decision-making process, because we want to see how they thought this through, and we want to see the reasons that they've given to justify such a lenient sanction. So we're expecting to receive those documents, or the council needs to file them with court by the 21st of January, which is next week, Thursday. And ultimately what we want to do is ask the court to review and set aside these sanctions and give the decision back to SACE so that it can reconsider this.
All right, thank you very much, Demichelle Petherbridge, attorney at Section 27. All right.